Good evening. Tonight here in the Fritz Bauer Forum, in the library of the Fritz Bauer Forum. A warm welcome to all of you, and a warm, very warm welcome to Dr. Orli Bach, who came to us from Tel Aviv in Israel.
Yes, ma'am.
Orli Bach is PhD, is a clinical psychologist in Israel. She works in an association which is at the frontier of therapy and research of individual and collective trauma. In the last few years, she has also been very actively involved in the peace movement in Israel and in the non-violent resistance movement, intensely struggling to safeguard the Israeli democracy and to stop the war. She is visiting Germany as part of an endeavor to establish a Center for Humanity and Justice named after her father, Gabriel Bach, in collaboration with the Fritz Bauer Forum. My opening words today will be very short because Dr. Orli Bach will introduce herself by talking about her family history and how it became an inspiration for her courage and for activity in the non-violent struggle in Israel for democracy and human rights. Thank you all for coming, and it's your podium now.
So I thank you dearly, Intud, for the very, very heartwarming welcome to Fritz Bauer Forum, and I am thanking all of you for coming to listen. And I will speak for about 45 minutes, and then we will have a discussion, because I think that dialogue and discussion is very, very important. So let me just add to what Intud has said already. I am a mother of two and a grandmother of two little girls who deserve to live in a wonderful country such as the country that I have had the privilege to grow up in. And I hope and pray, and I'm determined to do everything I can to allow my children and my grandchildren to continue to live in a beautiful democratic country. As you said, I basically hold two full-time positions. One is working as a psychologist with trauma. The center I work with is a center that deals both with research and with healing trauma, and I work with the whole spectrum of people who've been affected by the war now, with people who were victims of the Nova Party festival, and with people who are in the reserve army and who have came back from sometimes 500, 600, 700 days in the reserve, fighting in Gaza or up in the north. I work with people who've been evacuated after their homes were destroyed, or after they were hours and hours behind locked doors, trying to hold on and trying to keep the door from being opened by the Hamas terrorists. So we have the whole spectrum of people that we're working with, in addition to my private practice. And in addition to that, I have another full-time job, which is fighting for our democracy, for stopping the war, so that we can begin to heal our very, very wounded country. And I'm here in Germany. I came for two reasons. For the first 5 days, I spent in Halberstadt, which is the hometown of my father, and we had there a reunion of families who are descendants, second, third, and fourth generations descendants of the Jewish community in Halberstadt from before the war. And now I came to Bochum to explore different kinds of collaboration with the Fritz Bauer forum, where we are developing, thinking together about different types of activities that we can do together with the center that we are hoping to establish, named after my father. I will discuss these main points. First of all, why is it so important to remember people who can serve as role models for courage, and how remembering, I will talk about my father, and I will briefly talk also about my grandfathers. Oh, I am so sorry. Is it better now? Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I will tell the story of my father and then of my two grandfathers who served as role models for me and can serve as role models for a lot of other people to have the courage to stand up and to make a difference. And I will then describe the incredible resistance movement, Widerstandsbewegung, in Israel, and our struggle to stop the war and to save our democracy. And I will try to describe what happened to us over the last 3 years and what we're up against. And I think that one of the things that, when you see things from the inside, it's different from how you see things when you hear about it from far away. And so the picture is so complex, and I feel that people everywhere lack the appreciation for complexity. Somebody once said the sentence that tyranny is the result of lack of appreciation for complexity. So I will try to present a complex picture because I think that this is the key to being open to understand different people and to have empathy and dialogue and to listen to each other. And my father was the most optimistic person I've ever met in my life. He used to call himself a notorious optimist. And I am trying to follow suit. And every once in a while, I get a little discouraged, but then I remember him and I hold on to his memory, and I understand that we should never give up on hope. And hope can serve as a self-fulfilling prophecy. In this picture here is a monument which I will tell about later on, and I put that star because there is a song in Hebrew. How is it that one little star can stand alone? How dare this little star stand alone and have the courage to stand up for what the star believes in? And then the answer is, I am not really alone. We are not really alone. This is Halberstadt, the hometown of my father in Sachsen-Anhalt. And I let you, we were just walking down these streets, the Judenstraße, and there is a wonderful Moses Mendelssohn Academy there to revive the heritage and the legacy of the Jewish community. And I let my father introduce himself. How can... I'll stop it for a moment so that we can adjust the volume. Is this okay now?
Amen.
Oh.
Das 1927 wird Gabriel Bach geboren. Sein Vater ist einer der führenden Zionisten weltweit. Er treibt die Auswanderung von Juden nach Palästina voran. Jahre später soll dieses Vorhaben auch für Familie Bach Wirklichkeit werden, unter sehr dramatischen Umständen. Vereinzelt lassen sich in Halberstadt noch heute Spuren jüdisch finden. Zum Beispiel die hergestellte Klaus-Synagoge. Sie erinnert an das Schicksal. Damals, am 12. April 1942, werden die letzten Kultur Halberstadts am Domplatz zusammengetrieben und Potsdam transportiert werden.
Da waren alle Namen, ja, von den Juden, die da gelebt haben, die deportiert wurden und alles deportiert wird und wohin. Und da stand unten ein Schild, da stand da, Heiler kam so.
My father had a very sheltered childhood in Germany for the first few years of his life. He played the piano, he was, you see this young gentleman here. But then when he was 9 or 10, he started seeing the swastikas on the streets and slowly watching how Germany was being taken over. These are my grandparents, Erna and Victor Bach. Victor started as a young boy, messenger boy in a big metal company in Halberstadt, and became, after a very short period of time, the general manager, and Erna was his secretary. This is the family, my brother with his sister Ruth, and my grandparents. They soon moved to Berlin because the factory could no longer work from Halberstadt. They moved to Berlin, and my father studied at the Theodor Herzl Zionist Schule. Ironically, the Theodor Herzl was placed in the plaza, the Adolf Hitler Platz. It was the Zionist school. My father said that they felt very proud of being Zionist, and they sat on the benches that were written for Jews only, but they sang Zionist songs. So in some ways, they never really felt put down or humiliated. They felt proud of being who they were. They had to leave their dog behind, and the dog was sitting on the window and crying. And they took their grandmother and they fled to Holland. They tried many times to flee to Holland, and they weren't allowed to by the German government because my grandfather was important in the metal factory. But then there was a window of opportunity when Chamberlain made peace with Germany for a very, very short duration. And during that time, they were able to cross the border. They went to Holland, and just as they were about to cross the border, some SS officers came on board of the train and said, Familie Bach, raus. And they had them open all their luggage. This is my father's suitcase with the GB. You see the letters on the, I'm trying to point it, yeah. They stood there in the train station. They opened all their luggage, and my grandfather was pleading because the train was already about to move, and all of a sudden came the order, okay, get out of here. And they closed their suitcases, and my father was a very little boy, very slim, with a big suitcase, and an SS officer kicked him from behind into the train that started moving. And this is how his life was saved, and this is how they left Germany. And for him, it's very symbolic that this boy who left Germany with a kick became later on one of the prosecutors in the Eichmann trial and a judge in the Supreme Court of Israel and an honorable guest of Germany for many, many years later on. They left on the Patria, which was a ship that brought people to the land of Israel. They left Holland in 1940, just like in the very last moment. They left Germany 2 weeks before the Kristallnacht in 1938, and they left Holland just before the German invasion there. They went on this Patria. My father insisted on celebrating his bar mitzvah on the Patria, and the Patria was drowned on the next sail. So they were always one step ahead of the angel of death. When they came to the land of Israel, to Palestine, Rommel started making it through North Africa to El Alamein. And many people came to my grandfather, Victor, and said to him, "Where can we go now? You have this prophetic talent. You always can tell, what is the next step or when to run. What should we do now?" And he looked at them and he said, "From here, we will never go anywhere. From here we are staying, and Rommel has to go." And indeed, Rommel left. My father studied law in England, where he learned a lot about the British culture, the understatements, the puns. He was a real Anglophile and brought a lot of the British style to his legal profession. He served in the army as an officer, as a lawyer in the army, where he met my mother, Roti, and this is their wedding. Okay, a few years later, Eichmann was captured by the Israeli Mossad, and he was invited to not only be on the prosecuting team. There were 3 of them: Gideon Hausner, my father, and Bar-Or, who was the 3rd one. But not only that, he was also asked to be in charge of that special police unit that collected all the data and documents and everything to prepare for the Eichmann trial. So for 9 months, they actually vacated a jail where Eichmann was staying, and along with the police unit and with my father, they all stayed in that jail. And for 9 months, they collected all the documents to present. They wanted to make sure that there is a representation to every country and every concentration camp, and to bring people's stories, not just documents, because they understood the historical importance of this trial. And indeed, up until the Eichmann trial, people did not speak at all about the Holocaust, did not speak about what happened. It was taboo almost. And the Eichmann trial really opened up and allowed people to let the stories out and begin to be proud of their Jewish and Israeli identity. So here is my father, and Eichmann is behind the glass booth. Again, on the prosecuting team, they divided the investigation and the interrogation between them, and each one took certain countries. My father was in charge of Hungary and Holland and a few other countries, and they brought the witnesses one and after another. You can...
In dem Zusammenhang muss ich sagen, werde ich nie vergessen, den ersten Moment dieses Prozesses, als dieser Richter in den Saal kam, mit dem Israeli-Wappen hinter sich, mit Eichmann da reinkam und Haltung annahm, vor einem souveränen Israeli-Gericht. Da muss ich sagen, die Bedeutung des Staates Israel, die Errichtung des Staates Israel wurde mir auf einmal klar und stärker als irgendein Moment, der da vorgefallen war.
Okay. This is my father when he's 94. He died a year later. What is this? Oh, I think that there is a video here, but for some reason I'm not able to make it work. This is a story that my father tells about one of the testimonies. The only person who survived the gas chamber. He was a child then, and they were all in the gas chamber or understanding already what is going to happen to them. The children started crying, and one of the children decided to start singing, and they all sang. And then all of a sudden the door opened, and they took out the first 15 people who were just by the door, because they needed some people to empty a train that came full of potatoes. So the first 15 people were taken out of the gas chambers, and one of them gave the testimony of what actually happened when they were there, locked in the gas chamber, and how they encouraged each other by singing in their very last moments. And this is my father listening to this testimony.
Und dann sagte, guck, ich dachte, ich wird mein Sohn vielleicht meine Frau gar nicht finden, da war dazwischen oder andere dazwischen gegangen. Sagte, meine Frau sah ich nicht mehr, die war verschwunden in der Bäcke. Meinen Sohn sah ich auch nicht mehr, der war verschwunden in der Bäcke. Aber meine kleine Tochter, 2,5 Jahre alt war, die hatte einen roten Mantel, und dieser rote Punkt, der mir so immer klein wurde, so verschwand meine Familie aus meinem Leben. Und meine kleine Tochter, Orli, die war genau 2,5 Jahre alt, und ich hatte jetzt 2 Wochen vorher einen roten Mantel gekauft. Und einen Tag vorher hat meine Frau ein Bild gemacht von mir mit dieser Tochter mit dem roten Mantel. Also als der Zeuge das schon erzählte, und ich könnte es so gestern mal über diesen kleinen roten Punkt in 2,5 Jahren Tochter. Und dieser rote Punkt, der natürlich bei kleiner wurde, so verschwand meine Familie aus meinem Leben. Das war, da konnte ich plötzlich kein Tor rausbekommen. Und das verging einige Minuten, bis ich mich wieder irgendwie wieder unter Kontrolle hatte.
So here is me. And in many places afterwards in Germany, he introduced me as the girl with the red jacket. And this is from Schindler's List. That scene, Schindler also Spielberg also realized the importance of that scene. So everything is in black and white, and here is this little girl, who is now, this actress is now fighting for the rights of the Ukrainians. My father became the state attorney of Israel, the Generalstaatsanwalt, and he dealt with many of the most important corruption processen in Israel, and he became like he as a state attorney, he always knew and was very, very sensitive to pay attention to the international implications of the legal cases. So here is a trial of somebody who tried to burn the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and he had this ideation that he is going to bring the Messiah, etc. And my father, in each of these trials of international sensitivity, it was very important for him to involve the media and the press and see beyond just the legal aspects. And here there is a caricature how he is like the police these are all the corruption cases, and he's there to hold the fort and prevent corruption from destroying our country, which unfortunately I'm not going to add many words. Okay. For 30 years after he fled Germany, he did not go back to Germany until he was asked to, Heinemann, Gustav Heinemann was the Minister of Justice at the time, and he visited Israel. And my father was always considered the foreign minister of the legal system. He was always showing people the country, was very proud to show people the country and take them around. So Gustav Heinemann and my father became very good friends. Gustav Heinemann invited him to come to Germany, and also the foreign ministry wanted my father to go to Germany to talk to all the people of influence so that they will continue to pursue Nazi war criminals. Here he is with Heinemann, showing him the Wailing Wall and the special friendship. When he first came to Germany, Gustav Heinemann was nominated and elected as the president. And my father, with his optimism, he didn't know how he's going to feel coming back to Germany, but with his optimism, he found the other Germany. He found the people with the Aktionszeichen and the people with Wiedergutmachung, and people who really dedicated their lives to volunteer and to foster the relationship between Israel and Germany. And he became an ambassador of goodwill and started going from one parliament to another parliament, to all the states in Germany, and started visiting Germany about 5-6 times every year to talk about the Eichmann trial, about genocide, about the rule of law, and about the Holocaust and its implications. He said, I need to make sure that such things never happen again. So this is him now signing the Golden Book of Berlin, the city that he was kicked out of, literally kicked out of, and here he is signing the Golden Book of Berlin. Here he's with Whitney Harris, who was the prosecutor in the Nuremberg trials, and Schalke 04. He always was a fan of Schalke 04, not only because it was a very good group, but also because of the blue and white uniform that they had, which is like the Zionist flag. And one day he was on television here in Germany. He many times showed on television, and the interviewer asked him about his memories with Schalke 04. So he remembered all the names of all the players. And the day after, he went to a place where they wanted to give him a special award, and the captain and all the people, all the players of Schalke 04 showed up and brought him this shirt with the name Bach, and with a special poster with all the history of the team. And that was symbolic for him, for the new friendship and the new ties and relationship that can be formed. It was particularly important for him to speak to high school children. Like every year, at least 5-6 times a year, he would come and speak to high school children and to young students college and university students, because he felt that this was most important, and he was most proud of the letters that they sent him after his lectures. And everywhere he left good friends, good personal friends and good friends of Israel. And here we came together at 2011 to visit Germany. 2011, April, was the 50th anniversary of the Eichmann trial. My father gave the keynote speech at the Topography des Terrors in Berlin, and of course introduced me as the girl with the rote mantel. And here we're sitting on these benches that were painted yellow then for Jews only, and visiting my father's childhood is the place that they lived and the park that they played football. Here we are at Villa Wannsee by the fireplace where Eichmann and Heydrich toasted and drank schnapps to celebrate the Endlösung, the final solution that they managed to pass without any resistance. Here is the Topography des Terrors.
Ja. Gleich fast. Ich muss sagen, ich selbst bin manchmal überrascht. Über 50 Jahre, oder ist nicht nur bei 50 Jahren, 50 Lebens, jedes Jahr werde ich das Interesse an den Prozess verfügen. Also teilweise, also die einzige Prozess ist Durchbruch der Förderung oder Verrichtung. Ich folge auch die Führung für das Designprodukt. Anerkannte Angriff, die Bearbeitung, der Einzige, der des Nichts als Verlierer war ebenfalls. Und es soll auch den Abbau der Nation in vielen Stellen, wo ich nicht wo ich überziehen kann, wo ich die Dinge auch bis junge Menschen, die Schüler, die Studenten, so alles mit dabei. Und die so ein Ziel, was da vorgeht. So, das ist 18 Jahre, also auch im letzten Jahre, weil ich nicht sage, oder wenn ich was vorher gemacht habe, oder den Hamburg, egal wo ich kann, und ich Schüler sind dann die Kinder, da war dann davon zu erzählen. Und das da nicht, sondern das so etwas wie
Okay. This is the room where my father was born in Halberstadt. We visited this house again a few days ago. Okay, as a judge in the Supreme Court, he was known as a very, very liberal judge, always standing for human rights and protection of democracy. At the same time, it was very important for him to make sure that that he said that democracy is very, very fragile. And sometimes there is a contradiction between freedom of speech and between making sure that democracy is not threatened. And as a Supreme Court judge, he was appointed to be the head of the elections committee in Israel. And he banned Rabbi Kahana, a very racist rabbi, from joining our parliament. And he said that the Weimar lesson is that democracy is very fragile, and there is the doctrine of the defensive democracy. Democracy has to defend itself, even sometimes at the expense of freedom of speech. And that was a very courageous stance against many of his colleagues, but he stood up for it. And unfortunately, right now, one of the main students of Rabbi Kahana is not only in our parliament, but he is Mr. Ben-Gvir, a minister, the interior security minister in our government. Here my father is showing various people of position, the Supreme Court, the new building of the Supreme Court, and he was called the foreign minister of the Supreme Court, because he always was connected with always saw the diplomatic aspects. Okay, our family. My father visited all over the world, many places. This is a museum, Anna Frank Museum, near Hiroshima in Japan. He was there for the inauguration of the museum, and he planted a tree next to the tree of Otto Frank, the father of Anna Frank. Okay, I'm going to skip. Here he got an award, a special award. He got many awards in his life, but this is a Mensch award that was given by a Holocaust survivor who founded a Mensch Foundation. Are you all familiar with the word Mensch? It's a word in Yiddish to say somebody of real virtue, human kindness, and caring. And this guy said that he wanted to fight evil by bringing examples of people who dedicated their lives to the memory of the Holocaust and are also an example of human kindness. Here he's lighting the torch of the resurrection or the coming back of the Jewish people. His 6 grandchildren are behind him. And this is my other grandfather, Yehuda Arazi. Yehuda Arazi, he's here with my father, was the chief commandant of the operations. This is my mother, Ruti Arazi, who always told me stories. I was 1 year old when my grandfather passed away, but I grew up on the stories and the legends about him. He, as a young boy, escaped from Poland and came to Israel and became an officer in the British police in Israel, in Palestine, and used his position there to smuggle guns for the Haganah resistance movement of the Jewish population in Israel. He then went to Europe and smuggled many, many guns. He did a lot of one-man operations. And Ben-Gurion said about him that he is one of the 4 people without whom the state of Israel would not have been established. He was called the Israeli James Bond. He was one of the founders of the Israeli Mossad. And in 1945, he was sent by Ben-Gurion to Italy to stand at the head of the operations of rescuing Jews who were crossing Europe by foot after the Holocaust. 250,000 Jews crossed Europe by foot and crossed the Alps, usually from Austria. I walked, every year there is a walk in memory of that crossing of the Alps. So we walked together from Austria, climbed the Alps, and went down to Italy. And those people were really people who had no one in the world, who lost everything and everybody, and they walked with this one will to reach the promised land. And many of them were wounded, many of them died while walking, but he managed to get them together with his helper, Ada Sireni, who was his right-hand woman, a woman from aristocratic Italian family, and they together created a wonderful team, and they were able to, here are the people walking through the Alps. And together they were able to rescue dozens of thousands of Jewish people and get them on board of small ships that they bought, and they were cargo ships, but they turned them into ships that could help people travel. And many of these ships, in the darkness of the night, arrived the shores of Israel, because the British government put a blockade and did not allow the Holocaust survivors to come to Palestine. They wanted to keep the balance between the local Arab Palestinian population and the Jewish population, so they did not allow other than a small quota of people to come in. And for years they were trying to smuggle people in quietly until the drama of La Spezia. In La Spezia, a town in Italy, a ship with 1,014 people on board was caught by the British Navy. They were surrounded by the British Navy, and at Cannon Point, they were ordered to get off to the shore and to be sent to camps in Europe. And my grandfather saw that. He was able to get, with false identity, of course, because the British were after him. So he always used all kinds of false identities. He got on top of the ship. He asked people to put a sign, Porta di Sion, the gate to Zion. And he was able to gain the trust of the people who were desperate on board, and said to them, he spoke Yiddish to them, which is like meeting them with their own language. He knew many languages. He knew Polish, he knew English, he knew Yiddish, and he spoke to them in their own language. And he said to them, in the Bible, it says that after 7 years, a slave is supposed to be freed by his master. But if the slave says, I love my master and I want to remain a slave, the master has to punch a hole in his ear, and from then on, the person remains a slave for the rest of their lives. So my grandfather said to them, you now have a choice of whether you want to remain slaves for the rest of your lives or become free people and join me on a hunger strike. And they announced a big hunger strike, and my grandfather was able to get some journalists, and they invited journalists from all over the world. This was a major, major drama. And the people of La Spezia, they marched the streets on the 1st of May, and they brought food and clothing and did everything. They themselves were starved after the war and after being bombarded for a long time. And it was a struggle that lasted 33 days. There were many, many dramatic moments, which I'm not going to tell now. But at the end, the British government surrendered and allowed all of them, all these people, they sang Hatikva, the hope, our national anthem, and allowed them to openly sail to the land of Israel. By the way, the whole community in Israel also went on a hunger strike in solidarity. And now, with the war and the hostages, we are doing hunger strikes in Israel, and I think a lot about my grandfather. Here they're sailing into freedom, and the people of La Spezia are very proud of this chapter in their history. And at the entrance to the city of La Spezia, there is a big sign saying, "This is the city." This is the city where that got a special medal from the government of Italy for the civil courage and for the human solidarity that they showed in helping the refugees. And they asked me to come to Italy and help choose the artist who would build this monument, Wings of Freedom. You can see the broken oops, sorry. Never mind. There's a broken ball at the beginning, and they're crossing the sea and walking into freedom. And it's called Wings of Freedom. And after that, I was invited to Italy 4 more times to help build more monuments in different places in memory of those operations. Many historians argue that the story of La Spezia, as well as the story of Exodus, which happened a year later, actually paved the road to the declaration of the UN of establishing the State of Israel. Because up until that point, nobody in the world knew that the British government was not allowing refugees from the Holocaust to come to Palestine. Here we are, and here are different places in Italy. Solidarity. In my trips to Italy, I saw. Here we're crossing the Alps. I saw many expressions of solidarity, and for the last few years, I've been giving lectures about different examples of solidarity when people are offering a helping hand to people who are from a different nation, not their own people, but other people. And completing the circle is here the Museum for the Holocaust in Milano, the Memoriale. And the person who, Roberto Jarak, down below, who founded this museum when there were refugees coming into Italy and they had no place to stay. He hosted almost 9,000 refugees in the Holocaust Museum. So we had a chance to pay back to all the people who helped us during the war. And in the entrance, this museum is, by the way, below the ground at the train station. It's called platform number 21, Binario 21. And when you're there, that was the place where the Jews were sent to Auschwitz in the middle of the night. They were taken underground, and from there the train took them to Auschwitz. And when you're in that museum, every time a train goes above you, the whole place shakes up and your heart shakes up. And in the entrance, there is a big wall. You see him next to this wall with only one word inscribed on that wall, and that is indifferenza, indifference, with the idea that indifference is what paves the way to phenomenon like the Shoah. And I told you today that one of the slogans of an organization that I belong to is that bad things happen when good people are silent. Okay, this is my little granddaughter, Alma. And I was a very lucky person because my daughter-in-law invited me to attend the birth and be a part of the birthing process. And we came out of the birthing room into the room that they gave us to stay in the hospital. And all of a sudden, I stood and I saw on TV, that was the 4th of January, 23, and I saw the Minister of Justice in the new government that was just newly elected announcing a real blitzkrieg on our democracy. And I stood there, I was frozen. I stood there, he announced, he put this whole plan that they had to really one by one declare war on each of the watchdogs of our society. And I was frozen, I could not move. I felt like the blood was leaving my head and going into my feet. And I was standing there, and my son was saying, Mommy, you have to pay attention to the baby. But I could not. I was just standing there. These were a few moments in my life. There were a few moments in my life I will never forget. And this is one of the major ones. This little girl came after that to my, I organized demonstrations, and she came to my demonstrations. And we are called anarchists, you know, by the government. So I said, look at this little anarchist. She's here with us. And here I am in front of the Supreme Court. This is after a march. We marched with the reserve soldiers all the way from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, 60 kilometers. And here I'm standing with the flag of Israel in front of the building of the Supreme Court. This is after my father passed away, and I thought to myself, and I spoke to him, Abba, here I am defending the Supreme Court of Israel. After that, you know, announcement, people broke out of the streets with 500,000 people almost daily on the streets. And it's one of the largest resistance movements that ever existed in modern history. Okay, I'm going to stop it here, let my people go, and this is Pharaoh. And I put a lot of these are all kinds of volunteer organizations. We have thousands of volunteer. This is called Let's Talk Democracy. Every Friday, we stand with flowers in shopping centers that are in cities that are supporters of this existing government, and we offer people a flower for Shabbat, and we offer people to talk at eye level and heart level with each other, and with the idea of listening and not only trying to preach to people, listening and understanding the different points of view. And then came the war. And maybe I can leave this to our discussion. what happened to our resistance movement during the war. It was a major shock. Our whole world was shattered into pieces, and all the memories of the Holocaust that were like embezzled in our DNA kind of like opened up all the wounds. And since there, we're not the same people. Israel has changed tremendously. We have been deeply, deeply traumatized. We are a community in trauma. And for a while, the protest movement slowed down because people were either in the army, everybody was recruited. So, and all the people who were leading the demonstrations were a lot of people who were in the army. So they were all recruited to the army. And many other people had lost their homes and were refugees in hotels or in kibbutzim. And many other people were wounded, and many other people. And it was also dangerous to demonstrate because there were missiles coming at us all the time. And so, many times during the demonstrations, missiles would come and we would have to run and hide. And so, and what happened was that the government used the guise of the war, as dictators often do, to issue like a blitzkrieg of legislation. Every day a new law, every day a number of new laws, and we were trying to see what we can do. And there was like a learned helplessness. In psychology, we talk about the phenomenon of learned helplessness, where they had mice, they put them in the cage, and wherever they went, they got an electrical shock. They went here, they got an electrical shock. They went there, they got an electrical shock, until they would just lie down on the bottom of the cage and not move anymore. And even when the cage was opened and they were allowed to be free, they remained lying down with this learned helplessness. Okay, so I just want to say that we are now coming back to ourselves, and the last few weeks now, this is the money time of our struggle. When we heard that we are about to launch an attack on the city of Gaza and go in again, hundreds of thousands every day on the streets, and we're trying to do everything. We're learning about nonviolent resistance from many teachers all over the world. We are in contact with them, and we are trying to build it's very difficult because liberals tend to be broken into a lot of small organizations, as opposed to more fascist parties that go after the leader. And it's very hard to unite, but our purpose and our aim is to unite everybody and to fight together. And I am not losing hope. And what gives me a lot of hope is to see all the wonderful people on the streets with the solidarity, with the beautiful faces. And I will just show you this is the bystander apathy, if you know about that. We're studying, let me see. I just want to end with one photo, and then we can start our discussion. Oh, oops, I lost it. I was going to, can you go back to the last slide?
The last one?
The last one. Right. Do you know who this lady is? This is Pandora. And in the Greek mythology, she was sent by the gods to punish mankind, humankind, and she brought with her this box. She was not allowed to open this box, but her curiosity took the upper hand, and she opened the Pandora's box. And all of a sudden, all the calamities and racism and anti-Semitism and wars and illnesses and everything came out of the world. And she was so shocked. What did I do? What have I done? And then at the very end, she saw something little flickering, little butterfly with very transparent wings. And that was hope. So we're here for hope, and we're never going to give up on hope. Es gibt noch Hoffnung. Okay.